everybody, and welcome to the online recovery support group. It's Monday, and I'm like 12 minutes late, so I apologize for that. Welcome. This is our online recovery support group supported by the Sandhills Opioid Response Consortium. It's a forum where people in recovery can come together. We are here to encourage and support individuals in their recovery journey by sharing our own experience, strength, and hope. Our meetings consist of daily readings, meditations, devotionals, and open discussions. We only ask that when sharing, you adhere to the rules and guidelines of this page. All recovery paths are welcome, and please feel free to share your questions or comments live right there. You just type in your comment, or if you have like a topic you want to talk about or something that is on your mind or you want to chime in, please feel free to do that. So today I thought I would talk about some rules of recovery. And there's pretty much like some simple basic rules that cover most of what you need to do in recovery. And as long as you kind of stay on the right track in recovery, you've got a really good chance of being successful. So the first one is create a new life where it is easier not to use. You don't recover from an addiction by simply stopping using. You recover by creating a new life where it is easier not to use. If you don't create a new life, then all the factors that brought you to your addiction will eventually catch up with you again. And this is really true for me. I was fortunate and blessed enough to be able to create a new life for myself. And I moved here to North Carolina from Florida. That really helped me to like make a fresh start. And I know not everybody can do that. Hi, Stephanie. How are you? I know not everybody can just move, to start their life over. And I say this all the time, but even if you can go stay with the relative or move your apartment to somewhere else or get a different place to live, that gives you like a new environment to have a fresh start. But you don't have to do that. You can do it in your same place where you are. But there are things that you'll have to change, a lot of things. I talk about a lot that one of the mistakes I kept making is that I wasn't changing anything. I thought that all I needed to do was just stop using drugs and then everything would just fall into place magically. I really did think that. I thought that I just need to stop using drugs and everything will be fine, and that wasn't what I needed to do. That was part of it, but I really needed to change my thinking and my behaviors and my reactions and learn. I learned a lot about myself the first couple of years of recovery. But anyway, I'm going to get back on track here. So the first suggestion in creating a new life where it's easier not to use is, hey, Shay, hi, how are you? Okay, is to avoid high risk situations. And you hear this all the time in the recovery world. It's people, places, and things. And those three words cover everything. It's like if you change the people you're around, that means basically avoid your drinking buddies, avoid the people that you got high with, avoid your dealers, avoid places where you got high or places where you scored or places where people are using or anything that makes you think about your old life. Avoid, especially in the beginning. Avoid people, places, and things. Get rid of all your drug paraphernalia. Don't keep something just in case. I think we've all done that. Oh, you having Wi-Fi trouble? Girl, I'm glad you're on here though. But anyway, yeah. Don't, keep a pipe or something stashed somewhere just in case you change your mind. You have to like make up your mind for good. Like decide and chuck everything and make sure you watch those things on your people, places, and things. It says, I'm getting this from an article I looked up, but it's a good one. And it says, recovery isn't about one big change. It's about a few little changes that can change the path of your life. And that is really true. Addiction is sneaky. Sometimes you won't see a high risk situation until you're right in the middle of it. That's why it's important to make a list of them and go over it with someone in recovery. Make the list and keep it with you. Someday that list may just save your life. So they're suggesting that you make a list of high risk situations. So to me, that would be, you run into your dealer on the street, or someone around you. For me, it would be like someone around me, like busts out a bottle of OxyContin or something. That would be a severely high risk situation for me. I think that's a good idea. If you kind of know what your trigger things will be, what situations would potentially be devastating to you, and you've kind of planned that out in your mind and played the tape through, what can I do if this happens? What can I do if this happens? That's a good prevention uh, idea to make sure that you stay on track. And this is the biggest one in my mind: change negative thinking. This was really big for me. Negative thinking is a risk factor both for developing an addiction and for relapse. Common types of negative thinking are negative self-labeling, or what I call self-talk, and all or nothing thinking. And here are some common types of wrong thinking that we can believe in our minds that aren't true. If people knew the real me, they wouldn't like me. I don't think I'm likable. Life is hard and I can't handle it without using drugs. Life won't be fun without using, and I won't be fun. Recovery is more work than it's worth. My cravings will be overwhelming and I won't be able to resist, so why bother? If I stop using, I'll only start up again. I have never finished anything. I worry that I am too damaged to recover or be happy. And I probably thought a whole lot of those, if not all of them, because I think when you're in active addiction, you're not thinking clearly. You're in the depths of it. You're like drowning in this addiction. You can't stop. And thinking about being in recovery can be like, it can seem like such a high goal that you're never going to be able to get there. And I can totally relate to this. Thinking that it's more work than it's worth, thinking that I'm not likable, no one's going to like me, it's going to be too hard, it won't be fun, I'm too damaged to recover. And those are all like negative self-talk. You have to stop yourself when you start thinking those things, because the truth is everyone is valuable and everyone is important and everyone is worth recovering, and it's worth the effort to get your life back on track, or even have a better life than you even had ever. You can surpass, how you were before you started, and even be better, So it's, in my mind, it's really worth it to push through all those negative thoughts and kind of say, wait a second, that's not true. I can do this and I am redeemable and I am going to try. And I think you have to be determined and you have to set your mind. Negative thinking leads to anxiety, depression, and addiction. If you think you are not likable, you will be anxious because you're worried that you will be found out. If you think you will fail, therefore, why bother trying? You will feel trapped by life, which leads to depression. If you feel anxious or depressed, you may turn to drugs or alcohol to escape. Yeah. Anxiety, depression, and addiction. Those are three terrible words. Um, a common fear of recovery is that you are not capable of recovery. The fear is that recovery requires some special strength or willpower that you don't possess. But people just like you, with strengths and weaknesses, with determination and self doubt, have recovered from addiction. I think that's, a good point. Your thoughts are going to control what you believe. And if you believe all those negative things that you can't do it and that you're not worth it, you're not going to be able to make it. You have to be able to think things, even if it feels wrong to you at first. You have to say it and your emotions will follow. You have to say, I am worth it. I can do this. I can recover. I deserve to be happy. And as you practice saying those things to yourself, you start to believe those things and then you can act on it and change your the way that you think about things. Cognitive behavioral therapy has been proven to change negative thinking and treat anxiety, depression, and addiction. The basic idea of cognitive therapy is that negative thinking is learned thinking, and therefore it can be unlearned and replaced with healthier thinking. If you can change your thinking, you will improve your life. I like cognitive behavioral therapy. I did that in Florida for about a year, and I really, really liked it. And, before, like 10 years ago, I didn't even realize, I wasn't even aware of my thoughts. I just thought that, I just believed everything I thought. I didn't realize that I can pick and choose the thoughts that are coming through my mind. I don't have to believe everything I think and that everything I think is not true, you know? Hey Angela, how you doing? Okay, so we are talking about oh, I lost my page here. Sorry, hold on. Rules of recovery. And we are on changing negative thinking. So if y'all have anything you want to talk about or anything, just type it in there and we'll go to it. Okay. Rule 2, ask for help and develop a recovery circle. Most people start recovery by trying to do it on their own. They want to prove that they have control over their addiction and that they are not as unhealthy as people think. But trying to do recovery on your own is the hardest way to go. It is what you have already tried unsuccessfully. Addiction is isolating. Your world gets smaller as you give up more of your life to your addiction. I know that was really true for me. I mean, you know, I isolated like crazy. You had to leave me alone so I could focus on getting my stuff and making sure I was set up for next week and making sure I had enough money. And you don't even realize that you're isolating, and you start getting depressed and you're like, for me, I really struggle with obsessive thoughts. And I mean, I still do to an extent, that's all I could think about when I woke up in the morning. As soon as I noticed that I was awake and alive, I would have this scared feeling in my stomach, like, do I have enough stuff today? Who am I going to have to call? Like, am I supposed to be, going to meet somebody? Like, I got to make sure that I have my stuff because otherwise I'm going to be sick, and I'm so glad that that's over. I can wake up now and I don't have that scared feeling, and I'm just so relieved that all that is over for me. It's just so freeing and it just feels so good to not have to wake up like that anymore. It was awful and it went on for years, It was just, I was like, is this ever going to end? You know, but I think what they're getting at here is that, addiction is isolating and you need to ask for help. And they're right. They say not everyone is your best friend. And some people might not understand about your addiction. And some people might not be supportive. that you want to recover. And yeah, I think you do need to watch who you talk to, because a lot of people aren't going to understand. There's a lot of stigma around addiction. And, you know, I think people that don't know about it, don't have an intimate knowledge of addiction and how it works and what it does to people, tend to be judgy, or they tell you that you should just stop, or they think, they blame you, they think, hey, you did this to yourself, I don't want to hear it. And you really need to find people that support you, that encourage you, and that will be there for you, because you're going to have bad days in recovery and good days, but you've got to have people there in your circle that you can count on and lean on and go to. And I think developing a recovery circle is a good idea. Close family members, close friends, people that you might go to church with, doctors, counselors, nurses. If you have if you go to 12-step programs, you'll have a sponsor, you'll have meetings to go to, but you might have a peer support specialist that you're working with. You might have, a counselor or a psychiatrist, or, some of your relatives that understand what you're going through. You got to kind of figure out who's on your side, so that you'll know who's in your corner and who you can count on. Let's see. Three. Okay. Self-help groups. Joining a self-help group has been shown to significantly increase your chances of recovery. The combination of a substance abuse program and self-help group is the most effective strategy. There are many self-help groups to choose from. 12-step groups include Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Marijuana Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous, Gamblers Anonymous, Adult Children Anonymous. There are also self-help groups that are not based on the 12 steps, including Women for Sobriety. I know we have Celebrate Recovery here. And there are a lot of, religious type support groups and self-help groups and Smart Recovery. There's a whole bunch of them. All you got to do is, hi, Michelle. All you got to do is Google and, search, and you should be able to find. If anybody watches this later, I can give you a list of places in the area if you just instant message me. Let's see. In Richmond County, even though it's not going on right now, we have the weekly addiction recovery support group on Wednesdays at the health department from 5 to 6. And that should be starting again, I think, near the end of the month, the middle of the end of the month, right around there, last week or so, I hope. So let's see. Guilt and shame are common emotions in addiction. Guilt and shame are obstacles to recovery because they make you feel like you have been damaged and that you don't deserve recovery or happiness. And of course, we know that's not true. Anybody that's struggling with addiction needs to know that they do deserve to get better, and they do deserve to be happy, and they do deserve to have their life back and to thrive again and not have to be trapped by this demon, and yeah, guilt and shame can really hold people back. And, there's really no reason to be ashamed, because I think more and more now people are learning, and the word's getting out more, that addiction is a disease, and it's not anybody's fault. It's something that happens to you. Yeah, you do make that first step to use, but some people get addicted and some people don't. It's just like a light switch in your brain. And if you're one of those people that becomes an addict, you'd never know it. It's just Part of it is hereditary, and part of it is just, I think, just random, you know? But yeah, that's not true. Everyone does deserve to get better and be happy. Okay. The next one is be completely honest with yourself and everyone in your recovery. Addiction requires lying. You have to lie about getting your drugs, using them, hiding the consequences, and planning your next use. By the time you've developed an addiction, lying comes easily to you. After a while, you are so good at lying that you end up lying to yourself. That's why addicts often feel that they don't know who they are. The result of all that lying is that you don't like yourself. You can't look yourself in the mirror. Lying creates a vicious cycle. The more you lie, the less you like yourself, which makes you want to escape your feelings, which leads to more using and more lying. And I think that right there says a lot, because that is what happens in addiction. You know you shouldn't be using, but you're using and you have to hide it. And in order to do that, you have to lie to your parents, your spouse, whoever, and hide it. And then you feel bad about lying, and you know you shouldn't be doing it, so you start feeling bad about yourself. And then, but you keep lying, and then you keep feeling bad, and then you start, when you lie so much, you do have to start kind of believing your own lies so you don't feel so bad. So this totally makes sense to me. It says, and I like this, nothing changes if nothing changes. Ask yourself, will more lying, more isolating, and more of the same make you feel better? If you don't change your life, then why would this time be any different? You need to create a new life where it's easier not to use. Recovery requires complete honesty. And I think that's true for me. And it's still kind of hard. I mean, but I think it's better to be honest, even if it's something that someone maybe doesn't want to hear, because it's better not to hide things. It's better to just be honest and find a way to say whatever it is you need to say in a nice way, or, break it to people easy, because once you start lying, then that same old feeling creeps back in of how you lied in addiction. And when you're completely honest, you don't give your addiction room to hide. You know, when you lie, you leave the door open to relapse. One mistake people make in early stages of recovery is that they think that honesty means being honest about other people. They think that they should share what's wrong with other people. But recovery isn't about fixing other people. It's about fixing yourself. Stick with your own recovery. Focusing on what you don't like about others is easy because it deflects attention from yourself. And I think that's probably easy to do, is start focusing on the other guy and what they're doing wrong. And that way you don't have to think about what's going on with you. So that's something that it's good to watch for that. It says honesty won't come naturally in the beginning. You've spent so much time learning how to lie that telling the truth, no matter how good it is for you, won't feel natural. You'll have to practice telling the truth a few hundred times before becomes a little easier. In the beginning, you'll have to stop yourself as you're telling a story and say, now that I think of it, it was more like this. So yeah, I think it does take practice. Anything takes practice, and the more you practice being honest and telling the truth, I think the easier it gets. And then rule number 5 is self-care. Practice self-care. Recovery doesn't mean denying yourself ways to escape, relax, and reward yourself. It means finding better ways to do those things. If you don't find better ways to take care of yourself, you will eventually feel irritable, exhausted, and discontent. If you have those feelings for too long, you will begin to think about using again. Practice self-care, yeah. Self-care may sound selfish. After all, who has time to escape, relax, and reward themselves? But that is exactly what people do when they turn to their addiction. That's true. Self-care is essential for mental well-being. If you don't consciously make time for self-care, you will unconsciously make time for it by using. Self-care doesn't have to be fancy or frivolous shopping or fancy trips to the mall. It begins with healthy eating and sleeping habits. Develop better sleeping habits so that you're less tired. Eat a healthier lunch so you're not as hungry at the end of the day. Learn how to relax so that you're not filled with anxiety. Yeah, that makes sense. It's important to take care of yourself, and it's so easy for people to talk about that, get enough sleep, eat right, exercise, but it's not as easy, especially if you've been in this unhealthy addiction lifestyle, where you're not doing any of those things. You might not even be sleeping and eating at all, so I think and you don't have to go to extremes, if you just set yourself up kind of a plan of what you'd like to see yourself doing, maybe like how many hours of sleep do you need a night, and how much healthy food are you willing to eat? Like for me, I love Coke. I drink a bunch of Coke like every day, and I've been cutting down. I'm down to like 3 Cokes a day, which I know it sounds like a lot, but for me, it's not. And I'm getting ready to switch to 2 a day. So that's one way that, just be gradual about it. You don't have to be extreme. And I think it's easier to accomplish your goals about exercise and eating and sleeping if you make them small, and like achievable. And the other thing I was going to talk about is this cool acronym, which y'all might have heard of. It's called HALT. And in recovery, we need to look at how we take care of ourselves, because a lot of our problems are from underlying issues. And HALT, HALT, is an acronym for hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. So, in other words, if you're in a bad situation, or you're in a bad mood, or something's going wrong, there's a good chance that the underlying issue is either you're hungry, you're angry, you're lonely, or you're tired. Like I know for me, if I haven't eaten all day, then I'm not feeling good. And I'm probably, not making the best decisions, not thinking things through, because I don't have full energy. And, you know, that could be a big problem. That could be one of the reasons why you're arguing with somebody, or you're feeling anxiety, or, I think it's a good idea to check those things, the HALT acronym, and kind of figure out, am I actually hungry? Angry. I know if I'm angry, nothing good's going to come from it. I mean, I'm still learning, and I was talking to Stephanie about this. We talk about this sometimes, and I hope you don't mind me sharing, but it's like I'm still learning. I need to wait. If I'm really angry, I do not need to act right then. I need to just hold on and wait for those feelings, those really strong emotions, to kind of die down before I act on the situation or make any kind of decisions about anything, or before I respond to somebody. If I'm angry, nothing good is going to come from that if I just act on it. And I wish I would have known about that years ago. I never really thought about it that way, but anger can be like the source of a lot of problems. Lonely. I think everybody feels lonely sometimes, and I think that's normal. Um, I know for me, I need to make sure that that's not going to turn into self pity. Um, feeling sorry for myself is not healthy, and I end up blaming other people for my situation, and that is not a good thing. Let's see. Of course, if you're feeling lonely and depressed and it continues and continues and it's like getting worse, you may need to go get some professional help for that. And the last one is tired. Generally, when we are tired, we are less patient, more grumpy and irritable and snippy with people. Getting a good night's sleep is really important, but not everyone sleeps good all the time. And I am guilty of staying up too late. I'm working on that. I'm getting better at that. And I actually lately have been getting a good night's sleep, and I could tell a big difference. So, you always see articles and stuff about ways to relax at night, but I think that they have a point in saying that, like, if you want to go to bed, you need to like go to your room and turn off the TV and turn off the phone and, turn off any bright lights. And I know for me, I have some lavender, essential oil lavender, and I love the smell of that. So I'll like put it on my wrist or on my neck, and then I can kind of smell it, and that helps me relax. Or some people take melatonin, and that's a good way to kind of naturally help yourself sleep better. So I think that's almost everything. I just wanted to share one more thing, which is from my Joyce Meyer book. The power of being thankful, and it has a devotional for every day. And today's was kind of fitting, I thought, because of everything that's going on in our country. So it's called Enjoying People. God has created all kinds of people with many different temperaments and personalities, and He enjoys them all. Variety seems to be something that God really delights in. If you haven't given this any thought, take a little time and look around. God created variety, and He said that what He has created is good. Therefore, I urge you to accept those who are different from you and learn to enjoy them as God does. We encounter a lot of people, some of them by choice, but a lot of them just end up in our lives as we go through our day. If you want to enjoy each day of your life, be thankful for and choose to enjoy the people you interact with each and every day. If there is someone in your life you are struggling with, try to focus on the good things about them and start thanking God for them instead of disliking them. I thought that was really good advice. Okay, everybody, I appreciate you checking in and saying hi. And if anybody has any questions or anything, just message me. I hope everybody has a great day. Bye.